ladies and gentlemen, let me just first say, for those of you who've nipped out for lunch or were thinking of nipping out for lunch, if Brian Armstrong and Brad Glardinghouse are the main course, then this is absolutely the secret sauce. It's a privilege to sit up here with you, Otto. Normally you do your research and you speak to people who've worked with the speakers beforehand, and without question, every single person I've spoken to at Visa, people that aren't with Visa, people that have dealt with you, Otto, are unanimously impressed. And everybody said you're the best boss, best leader they've worked for. And it's very rare that you get that, where you get a unanimous opinion of somebody before you do that. So I'm really, really excited to be sitting here. Visa needs no introduction at all. It is the picks and shovels that makes the gold rush of fintech happen. And so to set the scene, it's been a challenging 5 years for the global economy from a pandemic perspective, but actually with the share price almost doubling and revenues growing and Visa doing amazing things, has this been the best half decade for Visa ever?
Thank you, Tom. You're very kind. I really appreciate the introduction. And when we do get a chance, we've got to talk about all the good work that you're doing to get talent educated, which is very much needed and happens to be one of the pain points that fintechs face as well, and that is finding good talent across the region. It's been, just I think going through the pandemic, COVID period, and the acceleration of digital, what we've seen there from a payment standpoint has just been tremendous, especially here in the Middle East, North Africa region, across a lot of our markets. And fintechs have been at the middle of that. They have been responsible for helping to accelerate that trend, both digitizing merchants that were previously not accepting digital payments and enabling consumers to be able to make those payments conveniently as well. And so, I think the headline is fintechs are here to stay.
Absolutely, and what's amazing about working with certainly, and we've worked with Visa over many years in different guises, all the way back to the start of my career with Accenture, is that you bring a sense of trust, a sense of safety. It's a kite mark on payments. People know not only for acceptance, but also for the liquidity in the entire marketplace. And so when people are building in the fintech space, we also know for years it's been such a challenging thing to break into. Card issuance, different regions, being able to understand the complexities of Saudi versus the UAE versus Pakistan. I'm always inspired by your work, but I'd be really interested to think how you think about that as head of product and how you're solving some of those challenges. How can a young person here or an older person who's looking to build something get to market in the swiftest time possible, how to learn, get those scars, and really start to build?
That's a great question, actually. And we're seeing the complexities continue to increase. Many different payment schemes, multiple processors, various identity platforms that fintechs have to integrate into to enable payments. One of the things that we've actually done is, and you're going to see this announcement come out, we're launching a program called Visa Ready to Launch that brings a one-stop platform and allows fintechs to be able to integrate into a single API to access issuer processing, card distribution, AML, KYC capabilities, and Visa fraud and risk solutions as well, and be able to go to market with speed. What we've also done is brought a fintech fast track program where in markets where fintechs are licensed to actually do work with fast track Visa licenses for fintechs, and we also give them very quick access to our capabilities, because one of the challenges that fintechs have is scaling across markets. Once you've launched in one market, you want to be able to move into 5 as quickly as possible. And so bringing world-class infrastructure that's in 200 countries to fintechs allows them to be able to go to market with speed. And so we're doing some of that work as well. I do want to touch on one of the major challenges that fintechs are currently facing in the region, and that is funding. There's a BCG study that actually says that fintech revenue is going to grow sixfold over the next 7 years. By 2030, it's going to go from about $245 billion today to $1.5 trillion. So we do expect to see growth as far as fintech performance and acceleration over time. However, there still is the funding challenge. We saw that decline to about $168 billion or so in 2022 versus, the record $238 billion or so in 21. What we're doing is bringing exposure to fintechs. We've been running our Visa Everywhere initiative across the region. We brought a special edition to Saudi last year and did the global finals in Qatar. We're giving fintechs a platform for exposure so that venture capitalists and investors can actually see their products and invest in them. We're validating their solutions so banks can actually get to work with them. And we're also bringing, obviously, for fintechs that do win the competition, we give them funding as well. I think this is really important because we do have to ensure that, the funding cycle continues for these fintechs to accelerate the work that we need for the MENA region. And now, when you put that all in perspective, the question is, what exactly can fintechs do to accelerate growth in the MENA region? Well, you've got to take a step back and say, what is the opportunity? And you look at the region, over 50% are under the age of 25. And that means they're digitally savvy, they want to be digitized, and they know how to use technology. And so they want, frictionless, convenient payments. They want their interactions from a commerce standpoint to be as digitized as possible. And so significant runway over the next decade for fintechs to continue to serve that demographics. Well, we're also seeing a significant portion that is unbanked or underbanked, about 70%, over 100 million people. And so how do we bring these customers, these sellers, into the digital financial ecosystem? And it's exactly what fintechs are doing across the region. In addition to bringing, affordable lending solutions, whether it's buy now, pay later, alternative credit scoring to that segment and demographic as well. And so I think the question as to can fintechs accelerate growth in this region, that is an absolute yes. We believe in it, and we will continue to invest in it. And some of you may have seen the announcement that went out recently of our investment in a fintech here in the Middle East, Taraboot Gateway, an open banking platform, doing great work in Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and the UAE. This is a segment that we believe in, and you saw that we acquired Tink out of Europe, and here in the Middle East, we're partnering with Taraboot to expand the open banking proposition across a lot of our markets as well.
I think that's fascinating. So for those of you who are building, what we're breaking down is that you'll use regulatory licensed entities not as a barrier, but as a catalyst. You see them if their local regulators have given them the green light. That's a kind of hall pass for you to say, come onto our platform. Oddly enough, even though funding is down, actually, I'm a big believer that a lack of funding is a forcing function. It's actually an enabler. You have to get profitable sooner now. You have to build something that actually works, that delivers more money for the product than you're actually acquiring the customer for. You have a margin. That's been something that's been lost in the venture space for a number of years, particularly in fintech. But it's interesting you touched upon a point there, which is around the kind of, there's a constant buy or build. And as a head of product, I'm fascinated. Obviously, you've spoken about Taraboot Gateway. We knew the FTC quashed innovation in America with Plaid and weren't open-minded enough to that. So it's really exciting to see. But as a product owner, do you want to build or do you want to buy? What wakes you up in the morning? Do you open the FT or LinkedIn and go, that's the one I'm having tomorrow?
Great question. I actually like how you positioned it as well. We've always been a partnership network. We believe in collaboration, and for many that have followed some of the statements that we've made recently, we've said that we're not just a network, we're a network of networks. And so it's about, there are many networks out there, whether they're mobile network operators that have built mobile money solutions, or they're open banking networks, or even RTP networks. And the way that we view ourselves is a network of networks to create interoperability and connectivity. And so And within this network, we've got 16,000 bank clients that are connected to our networks and fintechs as well. And so we view ourselves as a collaboration network. Many of our clients have legacy infrastructure. We've got legacy infrastructure as well, and that's why we're making acquisitions too. And so there always is that question of build or buy. And we make those decisions as well, and in a number of instances we've bought, and in many instances we've built. And many of our clients are trying to make those decisions as well, which is why we introduced a program that we call Fintech Partner Connect, where we've said, we've engaged with so many fintechs across the globe. In 200 countries, we've got thousands of fintech partnerships. A lot of these fintechs are doing good work, whether it's around risk and fraud, loyalty, merchant enablement. How about we validate these fintechs and bring them to our clients so that they can go to market with speed in partnership with these fintechs and help answer their build or buy decision-making questions as well. And so we're seeing a lot of banks work with these fintechs to go to market with speed, bypass their legacy infrastructure constraints, and are making the decision to partner. And if it does make sense over time, they may actually acquire some of these fintechs too, which makes sense for the ecosystem. And so that's how we're thinking about it, and we're finding that that's really complementary to our broader ecosystem.
So in that broader context then, when you think as someone who has the autonomy and the ability to be able to see the future, you have to see around corners. When for those in the audience, what's your request to build? What's your RTB? What do you want to see in companies that are looking for funding or looking to partner with you? Obviously, profits and pathways, but I'd be really interested when you sit there in your internal meetings, and I told you this would be a bit of a secret sauce session. So I'd love to see when you sit around your tables, what does Visa need? What do you need in 2024? What do you want in 2025? So the people here building can build to really where you see the world moving to.
Yeah, no, great question. From our standpoint, we're an infrastructure organization. We're in 200 countries, process 65,000 transactions per second, and resilience is critical for us. And we pride ourselves in having, 5 nines uptime, and regulators require that. Regulators want resilience, they want security, and they want inclusivity from a payment network. And that's what we look for with a lot of our fintechs that we're making those decisions about, is the resilience of their infrastructure and the maturity of their infrastructure. And we'll bring a lot of capabilities to support them along the way, so that's not but it's that management team and it is the tech that's behind that as well. And then we also look at it from a consumer standpoint. Consumers want 3 things: give me convenience, give me consistency, and give me safety and security. Convenience, and that is, consumers want to be able to walk into a store and pay with contactless. They want to be able to go online and, conveniently order their goods and services without friction. They want consistency, and so when you leave the UAE and you travel abroad with your Visa card and you walk into any store, you expect it to behave and act the exact same way as it did in Dubai, and for you to have the same consistent experience. And at the same time, you want to feel like your money is safe, secure, and you can trust the system. And so we look for a lot of those things. And then we also look from the seller or merchant's point of view as well. And what are they asking for? They're saying, help me remove friction at the time of checkout so that I can increase conversions. And that is where we're bringing a lot of simplicity to how consumers pay to drive frictionless payments at checkout. And they're also saying, help me increase and drive up sales. And we're seeing buy now, pay later has helped merchants drive up a lot of sales, and we'll bring those solutions. We're also seeing that various Visa offers and benefits are driving up merchant sales, and we bring those to them as well. Merchants also want to manage fraud and risk, because no matter how much sales you're making, the moment you get hit with fraud, you could be underwater very quickly. And so we bring a lot of those solutions to them as well. And so we're constantly looking for fintechs that can demonstrate excellence in any one of these areas. And I've described it from a consumer standpoint, from a merchant standpoint, from our financial institution standpoint. And where we're starting to move into a lot more now is money movement around remittances. This is a big remittance corridor, a lot of our MENA markets. And so how do we move money seamlessly? having someone stand in line at, a remittance house for an hour to send money to someone else who's going to go stand in line for another hour to receive it, it's just not a great experience anymore. And so how do we do that digitally, which is what we've been rolling out in our markets with our Visa Direct platform that can deliver to 3 billion Visa cards and 2 billion bank accounts. And so we're also looking for fintechs that are demonstrating excellence in that space as well.
That's incredible, Otto. And I think for those of you who are early in your journey that are seeking regulation, the Visa Ready to Launch platform is going to be an incredible enabler. Anything that can reduce your time to market, get you those early proof points, is a real force multiplier, which will enable this region to continue to be such a hotbed of innovation. And I think then, more importantly, as they scale, particularly in the regulated market, there's nothing more important than resilience, that safety, that security. And so when you're building in this space, think less sexy and think more robust, gets you not only greater market penetration, but makes you far more attractive to be able to work with the likes of Visa as an investor or as a partner.
Absolutely.
Otto, thank you. I've really enjoyed this session. And for anyone who'd like to reach out, how would they be able to contact you or your team?
So we're actually, our CEMEA, so we cover a region called CEMEA, Central Eastern Europe, Middle East, Africa, about 90 countries. We're headquartered here in Dubai, and so our team's located here. We've got an innovation center in Media City. Swing by anytime. And we've also got a booth out here as well. So stop by our booth and see some of the work that we're doing in the region.
Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause, Otto Williams.